Hey frag heads and enthusiasts, welcome back. It's Benjamin here at the Centaur Fragrance Channel. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I love it and I do appreciate you for stopping by. And today we're going to be talking about none other than Prestige from the house of Primera Fragrances. A brand new house. They did send me some of their fragrances. Of course they're wanting a review. They want some spotlight. They want somebody to put a face to their fragrance, and I'm very happy to do that. Their website is still in development, but let me share with you, my favorite of the bunch. This is my favorite fragrance from them. Now, first off, this fragrance really, there are more notes to this fragrance, but what you're mostly going to smell is orange off the top. Then it's going to transition to this like almost dry but yet a little bit rich chocolate note. It's not overtly creamy, it's not Nutella or anything like that. It is kind of a rich chocolate, but it's a little bit more dry. And in the dry down, to me, that's where the beauty is. There's a leather here that reminds me of the fancy but yet a little bit almost seductive leather that's in Tom Ford's Oud Wood, that kind of leathery vibe. It's not an oud fragrance at all. There's not really oud in this fragrance. And that leather is very long lasting. We'll talk about the performance in a second. But this fragrance honestly doesn't really feel like a lot of other fragrances. To me, the fragrance, the notes of the fragrance have a similar feel to Tiziano Terenzi fragrances, and if you've ever smelled a Tiziano Terenzi, you would know that they have a different style about them, a completely different feel than a lot of other fragrances, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a little bit unique. And this fragrance, also with how it's composed, is also a little bit different. Again, to me, this fragrance doesn't feel very well rounded, but it is composed in a way that makes sense. To me, it almost feels like accords stacked on each other. This orange, to me, feels a little bit more like an orange liqueur. Not overtly boozy, but does feel a little bit more like an orange liqueur. And then as the fragrance dries down, and it's going to transition, to that, dry and a little bit rich chocolate. And as the fragrance continues to develop and dry down, you're going to start to notice a little bit more of that leatheriness. This is, again, quite different. A lot of fragrances, immediately what you smell out of the fragrance is what you get. The fragrances might not develop that much, or you might get punched with a bunch of top notes and then the fragrance kind of dries down, and it's kind of a mess, and then it doesn't really change a lot. This fragrance really does change, and I find that not only fascinating, but I find it really likable, mostly because personally love the leather so much in this fragrance. I'm a big sucker for leather. Musk, leathers, and gourmands are some of my favorite types and styles of fragrances. I do like different styles. I do like other fragrances, but those are mostly my go-tos. And I have to say that, this fragrance did it for me, even though if you just smell this fragrance immediately off the top, if you ever decide to get this fragrance, you might not think it's very interesting, but you spray it, you have to give it, some time on the skin and really try it out and see what kind of magic it can do for you. To me, this is more of a versatile, everyday, semi-gourmand kind of scent, and I usually don't like orange and chocolate. I don't like to eat those orange chocolate combination chocolate bars, and to me, it's just not a harmonious kind of combination. But somehow they made it work in this fragrance with this kind of unusual fragrance, composition. So, with the longevity, this is also a reason why I fell in love with this fragrance, and it works for me in its odd little way. This fragrance honestly gave me like 12 hours of performance. This stuff lasted and lasted and lasted. It's not the biggest projector in the world. It's not a big, bold bodied fragrance. And again, it doesn't really have that body of a fragrance and that richness which I usually demand from a fragrance. It's more of like a laid back kind of fragrance, and it's a little bit more mellow in its own way, but yet it lasts and lingers and lingers. I love this fragrance not only for layering, but again for a more inoffensive, safe, almost gourmandish kind of fragrance. And if you love leathers, if you love sweet leathers, and you wanted something that could last you throughout the day, and maybe is a little bit simple, but yet could also intrigue somebody maybe who's not doesn't have a lot of exposure to fragrances. This still could be a little bit interesting. So it's not overtly sweet, not overtly rich. We'll talk about the compliment factor in a while. And it doesn't really have a ton of projection, but it does have some good sillage. So when you walk past people, they're going to be able to notice you. If you sit somewhere for a while, you will create a little bit of a nice bubble. So compliment factor wise, this isn't going to get you the biggest amount of compliments. Again, it's not a big projector. It's not a fragrance that's really begging for attention. It doesn't really have that vibe. It's not overtly gourmand. It's not overtly sweet. Again, the body of this fragrance feels a little bit more laid back, and I find that interesting with this fragrance. A laid back, chocolate, leather mostly dominated fragrance with some orange, kind of sophisticated, smooth, orange off the top. I find this quite an interesting combination, and I really actually think that this filled a spot in my fragrance that I always wanted, that I really hadn't been thinking about. My versatile 24/7 go-to anywhere, anytime, gourmand or semi-gourmand fragrance. With this fragrance, I can wear something that appeals to my nose or wanting to smell like chocolate anywhere and anytime. So if I want to smell like chocolate in the summer, I can put on one or two sprays, and the summer nights I can easily get away with this. This can easily be worn in the spring and the fall. In the winter, it might not hold up on its own. I might need to layer this with another stronger fragrance, but I could put on a lot of this and it probably could get me through the winter as well. So overall, I do enjoy this fragrance, but it's an odd little creature. Would I recommend this fragrance, and what is the price tag? Y'all gotta know the price. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it's not cheap. This is $130 for 100 mils. Do I think that this is a fair price for the value? I do wish that this fragrance maybe did have a little bit more body. That's often accomplished with, a little bit more complexity, or maybe they throw musk in to give the fragrance a little bit more body. Could this fragrance be a little bit darker? Yes. Could it be a little bit more sweet? Perhaps. Could it be a little bit more seductive? It could be. But this, again, fills a little bit of a niche in my collection that I feel is quite needed, and I hadn't been thinking about. So I'm not going to criticize this fragrance a lot, but if you aren't, this is going to be for a very particular, again, kind of person, and again, in my opinion, a very particular need. You're going to have to want a gourmand that's highly versatile. If you want gourmands or sweet, seductive date night fragrances or other things like that, I think that fragrances like Tom Ford's Noir Extreme, or even, good old Dolce & Gabbana The One, I think is going to be a lot better, maybe for value, for money, for, a seductive, classy, kind of out and about, going out on the town kind of fragrance. But if you're a leather lover, if you're a gourmand lover, and if you've always needed something that fit and gave you that fix for your leather and your chocolate needs 24/7, this is going to work for me, and it might work for you. So I do think it's a little bit expensive for the quality of what you're getting, but it's not bad. It feels kind of like a Terenzi in its own way, and I find that fascinating. The cap does have a wood, kind of like a fake or a wooden outer layer. The glass does seem to be like a sprayed glass. I don't think it's a porcelain. And some of y'all might like that, some of y'all might not. It's not easy to see through. You probably could get a flashlight to look through it. That's one of the best tricks in the fragrance game. If you really want to see your juice level and the ball's really hard to see, get a flashlight and look at it the opposite way with the flashlight facing you. And you can usually see the level of how much fragrance is inside. So anyways, my friends, I'm going to wrap up this review. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with me, having some fun, chatting about another great fragrance, and I hope that you enjoyed it today. Let me know in the comment section below, what is your favorite leather fragrance? What's your favorite chocolate fragrance? Do you like gourmands? Do you not like gourmands? How did this fragrance sound? Would you ever consider buying a $130 fragrance that's really more of a fragrance that's good for layering? Is that something you would consider? Is that crazy talk? Am I too deep into fragrances? Let me know in the comment sections below. Anyways, I'll see you next time, my friends. Wear what you love, rock what you got. Be safe and careful out there. And, I hope that you're smelling good. I know that you're smelling good. I'll see you next time, everybody. Peace out and bye.